morning, everybody. How are we doing? Sam here, United People's TV. I think we're live. It just gave me an error, but now it says it's live. So let me know if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook and that everything's all right. Good morning. I apologize about yesterday. I was definitely severely hungover. It's not actually possible for me to drink the night before anymore and do these shows properly. And I knew that, but I still went to the NFL on Sunday. Oh, well. Try not to do it again, Sam. Lesson learned. Blah, blah, blah. But look, we're here to talk about, funnily enough, Jim Ratcliffe. Funnily enough, the 25% takeover of Manchester United. And yeah, it's been a pretty crazy few days, I suppose. When the news broke on Saturday night and we came here, we did 2 lives. First of all, in reaction to the concept that the Qataris have pulled out. And then within 20 minutes, I think we were live again with Ratcliffe and the 25% takeover. Good. Looks like you can all watch, right? And this morning, I'm going to run through in a little bit more detail now, I think. Some more, not that we have the full details on the plans, okay? Now, I'm going to do my lunchtime video on everything that we know so far ahead of this board meeting on Thursday. And it should be after that board meeting on Thursday that we start to really understand what it is that INEOS and Ratcliffe are actually genuinely expecting to be able to do when only 25% of Manchester United. But look, good morning to everybody. Let's see who's watching from the member gang. Brian, good morning to you. Asan, Al Williams, good morning to you. Josh, you're there. Mo Salad, Jonah Tech, Freddie, Klein, we've got Chris, Ryan. We've got down in the... No, I can't read your last name actually, there, mate. Andrew, James, we've got Jamie on Facebook. We've got Matt Frost. Good morning to you, mate. Ben, we've got John. You say the best hungover show is the one after Vegas. Well, that is a very questionable. I'm not watching that again. Yeah, jeez, I remember doing the match reaction after that. That was when we played City and got pumped, and the game was at like 5 in the morning, half 5 in the morning, because it was an early kickoff. Ugh, that was horrible. Never doing that again. Probably will. Look, let's talk in a bit more detail today about Ratcliffe, about INEOS, and about the plans. I think the reaction has been largely, well, I call it nightmare scenario at the weekend. The idea that the Glazers have somehow managed to find minority investment and still retain control of the club. Now, I think part of this is I'm still trying to get my head around all of this. I'll be completely honest, because it's not what I wanted. Okay, I didn't want a minority takeover of Manchester United. That was like the bottom of the pile for me. Whether it was INEOS taking over or whether it was the Qataris taking over, I wanted a clean break with the Glazers. But that's not going to happen. So is there any positive to take from this? As it stands, I would say no. And the only reason I'm saying that is because we don't have enough information yet. And I personally think that's the one thing that where's a photo of him? That's the one thing here that that Jim Ratcliffe can and should be able to do immediately. You let me know what you think that is in the comments. Just type it in. I'm not saying like in terms of sacking one person or bringing in another person, right? I'm saying, what do you think culturally? Well, I don't know whether culturally the right, but what can he change at Manchester United as far as us as fans are concerned immediately? You let me know what you think in the comments down there, and I'll see what you're saying. Miles is saying, what happens if the board can't agree? Basically, as far as we know, and as far as I've read up about it, there only needs to be a majority. There's 12 board members, therefore it needs to be a 7-5. And we know that the Glazers are all going to vote for it. Oh, actually, no, maybe we don't. But we can presume at this point that they are. Let's see what you're going to say down here in the comments here. What good could possibly come with Jim Ratcliffe coming in? Hey, look, Carl, you've actually said it there straight away. Some of you down there saying scouting. No, it's this. It's communication. The first thing, the absolute first thing that he has to get right is communication. Because, look, you're seeing all the stories coming out now around maybe plans for a 90,000-seater Old Trafford. I mean, look at that. You go, yeah, really? I'm not sure about that. and plans for January transfer window, which I've sort of run through what's being reported here today, is that communication, man. We need to know exactly what is being proposed. And that was a reason why so many people supported the Qatari bid straight away, was because they came out with that statement. They came out with that, what they said, they're going to bring Manchester United back to the glory days, going to be investing into the team, the community, lots and lots of stuff. Stuff that they therefore would have been held accountable to. The same thing has to apply with Ratcliffe and INEOS. That's one big thing that has to happen and has to change, is communication. Because we've just, the Glazers have lived in the shadows for nearly 20 years. Okay, some mad rumors going around in the comments. Don't need to read those out. Well, you can just make sure you close the door on the way out, my friend. Really appreciate that. Mo, I don't want to be negative, but our club is doomed. Dude, Manchester United. Okay. What else are we saying down here? How much has Jim Ratcliffe communicated so far? His initial statement was threadbare. Yet that's all he needed to be at that point in time. At this point, Jim Ratcliffe hasn't needed to come out and say anything else, clearly, because he's bloody won this situation. But of course, that's what my video is going to be at lunchtime today. All right. There has been so much information, so many articles getting thrown out everywhere, like 3-4 a day, from The Athletic, from The Telegraph, from everybody. Some speculation, some fact, no one can really know. But what I'm going to do is bring it all together into one video at lunchtime today, one 10-minute video, to try and summarize absolutely everything we know so far and what happens next and when. And let's speak about that. We now have seen reports. This is from, as I said, I think the Times are going to be probably someone that we look towards for key information around this. They've got close links with INEOS, just in the same way that if the Qataris were successful, then Mike Keegan would probably have been a leading voice around that. Let's read through this article. There's quite a few that I'm going to run through this morning, and we can have conversations about it in the comments. All right. Let's go. Man United takeover. Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS aim for 2024 control. All right. That's what it's saying. Jim Ratcliffe and his colleagues at INEOS hope to be in control of Manchester United's football operations in time for the January transfer window. I don't particularly think there's going to be any problems with this. I can't guarantee it until it's done. So let's find out. But I don't think there's going to be any. There probably will be more disagreements. Who am I kidding? But he's saying this. It is likely to take another 8 weeks for the deal to be completed. With Ratcliffe, of course, he needs to go undergo the Premier League fit owners. Was it Premier League owners and directors test? That has to happen. Now, this is the thing I'm slightly getting confused about in how this coverage has happened so far, right? So you've got, I don't know whether it's there's different sort of timelines that are being put on it. So you've got here, the Times saying aiming for 2024 control. Fabrizio Romano here saying it's in the case of directors, there will be change very soon, as soon as he comes in. Then you go over to the Telegraph. No, that's the wrong one there. I've got too many articles open here. I swear to God, my head is absolutely exploding. Go down here. There we go. The Telegraph saying this. Ratcliffe is to be granted immediate control of football operations. So is it immediate control of football operations, and then it has to be 8 weeks before the deal goes through and he is therefore elected to the board? Does that mean that the Glazers are going to give Jim Ratcliffe immediate control of the footballing side of Manchester United without him actually being ratified as a board member? Oh, that caught me off guard, man. Woo! That was funny, man. But that is the best comment I've seen. That gets highlighted on screen. Yeah. Woo! That one caught me off guard, people. That one caught me off guard. Cheese. Anyway. Oh. I need to have a drink after that. I need to have a drink. Oh, man. Oh, man, some people have drunk the Kool-Aid, didn't they? Some people have drunk the Kool-Aid. Woo! Woo! Anyway, what was I talking about? I have no idea. I've completely lost myself there. Right. So, yeah, I'm a little bit confused as to whether or not it's going to be, as I said, is it immediate control of football operations? Is Fabrizio Romano indeed correct that there will be changes quickly? Now, what I would say is, even if the control is immediate, right? If after Thursday, Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS, they get that 25% takeover ratified by the board, okay? And Jim Ratcliffe is therefore given control of the football operations of Manchester United. Don't expect something to happen the next week. Because Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS will... This has always been said. I remember when me and Ben Jacobs spoke about this quite a few times. He will undertake his own review of the club, right? So if he does indeed get immediate control, he will then do his own review of every single position. He won't just ask somebody, "Oh yeah, is he even doing his job properly?" No, INEOS will do their own full review of every single position at Manchester United. Now, of course, there's two people here who are absolutely going to have their... I mean, I don't think either of them should be going anywhere near a new structure at Manchester United. Richard Arnold and John Murtough. I do think John Murtough has... I think the footballing side of things at Manchester United are in a slightly better position now than they were previously. However, there's still so much wrong with everything that's going on behind the scenes at our club. And this here, right, with the... This, I think, will be the first of many problems that I think will happen when you've now got a set of owners in the Glazers who do things one way that we know is not the right way for our football club. It's what's dragged us into this mess. And then you've got Jim Ratcliffe, who I genuinely do believe has the best intentions for Manchester United. But I question his ability to be able to perform those intentions, given that the Glazers will still be the majority owners of the club, in control of the business side of things. And I think Richard Arnold is going to be a real example of that power struggle that could happen. Because if you're Jim Ratcliffe and you're coming in, you're looking at John Murtough, you're looking at the football side of Manchester United, what has happened in the last 3 years under John Murtough, and I think you'll be pointing towards... I think the academy has had a massive resurgence, and I think it was John Murtough who was involved in the academy side of things, and Nicky Butt was before he came over to the football side. I think Manchester United conducting themselves slightly better in the markets, but still there's so much room for improvement. And I don't particularly think you can look at John Murtough and go, right, okay, yeah, bring him through. I don't think that would happen. And then you look at Richard Arnold. And I don't think anybody's going to be saying that Richard Arnold should be staying on after the arrival of Jim Ratcliffe. But then you're going to be looking at the Glazers. And Jim Ratcliffe might want to come in and shift Richard Arnold, shift John Murtough out. But the Glazers might not want to. And that's what I mean about this power struggle that might then emerge. Because I think the Glazers would probably want Richard Arnold to stay so that he can oversee things and then tell them what's going on. So what happens then? Do Manchester United create a separate role for Richard Arnold? This is all hypothetical, of course. It's hypothetical. Richard Arnold may well just be shifted out as well. but maybe he's going to be kept on the business side of things. And you're really just going to see like two different at Manchester City, all other modern football clubs, everything just works under one umbrella, one unison. It might be now because Jim Ratcliffe's going to be taking control of the football operations that all of a sudden you get two different versions of Manchester United behind the scene. Manchester United business, Manchester United football club. And that both of these are going to have to figure out a way to work in tandem together. And that's the worst part of this. Is it a better situation that Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS is in control of football operations at Manchester United and the Glazers are not? Yes. Do I trust that Ratcliffe has the guaranteed ability to make all the changes that I think, A, we need, and B, he probably genuinely wants to do? I can't have that guarantee yet. What are the plans? We don't know what those plans are yet because nothing's really come out and been public about it. But Ratcliffe will do that. INEOS will do that. And I think it's a necessity. I'm going to go down here and see what you're saying in the comments. Toto Wolff taking Arnold's job. I've seen that. Neil, dude, man, I'm not here looking for a silver lining. I genuinely am not. And I said this throughout this entire takeover process. I said, no matter what happens, no matter who takes over, we have to make sure that they are held accountable. We have to apply the same sort of logic to every single one of them. And Jim Ratcliffe has to be held accountable. That's why we need that information. That's why we need INEOS to speak to the fans directly. Because otherwise, you're just going to let speculation like eat the fan base from within. Right, let me see what you're saying in the comments down there. I think there's a couple of super chats. I want to read these out. Chitty, what are you saying? 25% stake would have directors as part of it, so either increasing the board members or someone's going. Well, yeah, currently as it stands, there are 12 members of the board. 6 of them are the bloody Glazers. 3 of them are representatives of Manchester United. Patrick Stewart, Cliff Beattie, and I think Richard Arnold. And then you've got 3 independent directors who are there to represent anybody who's got stocks on New York Stock Exchange. So you can't get rid of them. Maybe the 3 from Manchester United would change. The Cliff Beattie, Richard Arnold, and Patrick Stewart. I think that's like legal. There's 2 legal counsels there, I think. And of course, we know who Richard Arnold is. So those 3 could easily be replaced. And Jim Ratcliffe could maybe therefore have a position on the board. We don't know whether it's going to be just Jim Ratcliffe going on the board. Is it going to be 2 people from INEOS that go on the board? What sort of... Is it the case that everybody in that board has the same voting power? I think it is. I believe that the voting power is, as I said, split on the board. But then if it goes to a decisive vote, it goes to the co-chairman, who, of course, Avram Glazer and Joel Glazer. They have the 2 like definitive votes if it ever got to a situation where it was split. But of course, the board structure is going to have to change. And this is the stuff that we don't know yet, right? This is the stuff that will come out. It's going to happen on Thursday. The board meeting is going to happen on Thursday. Abhinav is saying 2024 is only 10 weeks away, so it's soon. Yeah, right. Cool, fair enough. What do you feel about the January transfer window? Like everything that's still got to happen. Do you feel that enough change could happen that there will be a positive impact on the January transfer window? Of course, from a budget perspective, there's a very easy win for Manchester United. I need to look at the actual numbers and figures, but I believe that when it comes to sort of net spend of clubs that they're allowed to do in the transfer window, there's a little buffer that's like an extra buffer that clubs can have if their owners invest that money. So it's like you can have an extra like 30, 40 million, I think, roughly. Of course, the Glazers, as owners, have never invested any of their own money in the club. So therefore, Manchester United have never been able to use that part. That could, of course, change. What's going on with the debt? Geez, I've already done my video on the 8 questions that there are. And Gary Neville did 16. And there are just so many questions, including the debt. And And I don't know whether I was right or wrong, but the way I remembered it was that when Ineos was going to buy Manchester United, and it was the 69% of the club, it was going to be that they bought the debt. They got funding from. They were going to get funding from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, get a huge loan, pay off the debt of Manchester United, and then absorb that debt onto Ineos. I thought that was the case. I might be wrong. I need to go back and do my research again. Or it might have been a case that if they bought the club and part of it was financed by a loan, that those loans would go onto Ineos. But I thought that was going to happen. I can't remember. Let me see what you're saying down here. Sam, have you got any hope of Qatar coming in with a final offer? Dude, forget about them. It is done. They're not coming anywhere near the club again. It's kaput. I think so anyway. James, you're saying it's a 15 mil buffer. And I need to look at the research. I remember there being some sort of buffer that was allowed if it was owner's investment into the club, which of course United have never been able to do under the Glazers. What are we saying down here? James, I don't see the need for Richard to go because it's obvious they want to separate both business and the football side. Yeah, I'll be honest. That's what I just said. That's exactly what I just said. I think the Glazers might end up keeping Arnold and putting it into like a completely different segment of Manchester United that purely does nothing but business. And you might look, I can say I think the Glazers are bad businessmen, but Manchester United have just signed a new shirt sponsor, which is a world record deal. We've just signed a new 10-year deal with Adidas, which again is a world record figure. So like, as crap as they have been, because of how big Manchester United is and still the value of our brand and our legacy, still so strong that they can sign those sorts of deals, despite us not winning the league since 2013 and us not winning the Champions League since 2008. It's mad, isn't it? Really is mad. Go down here. There's a couple more comments. See Billington, he's saying it's not the change we wanted, but it's still change. We don't know what could happen until we are told more. Of course, that's the position we are currently in. It is change. It is in the right direction. But for us to go from the excitement of a takeover, the excitement of the Glazers leaving, and all that would entail, to all of a sudden a minority takeover where the Glazers remain in overall control of the club, even if it's not in control of the football side of things. So what happens with budgets, for example? Because the budget presumably would be a business decision, but that would affect the entire footballing side of things. So how do you then align those two? So questions. Ashwin, what are you saying? Thank you very much for the super chat, dude. Saying John Murtough can't be at the start of his career as a football director at United. He has to come in with established relationships. Can't be learning on the job at a club like United. Well, you can. And there's so many people that have been. And it's part of the issue. And I'm going to run through some names now that there's so many things that we need to talk about. And there's, you know what? Right now, and this is why I'm saying that Jim Ratcliffe has got to come out with a statement. As United fans, we're starved of information right now. We're faced with 100 questions. And we're also faced with so many questions about people who could be involved. And I'll speak a little bit now about Dave Brailsford. I'll speak about Paul Mitchell, Jean-Claude Blanc, who could come in. There's so many questions. And thanks for Super Chat, dude. What you're saying? If he wants us to have any confidence in him, Ratcliffe must appoint professionals such as Paul Mitchell immediately. See, this is the thing. I agree, by the way. And you all know what I think about Paul Mitchell. Geez, if you don't know what I think about Paul Mitchell, you haven't been here long enough. Because I've raved about Paul Mitchell for a long, long time. But this is the thing I'm curious to find out, right? How immediate is immediate, right? If he gets immediate control of footballing operations, or is he going to have to wait 8 weeks here for the deal to be completed and for him to be added to the board? Is there going to be a clause inside the agreement that allows Ratcliffe immediate control, or do we have to wait until he's on the board? Because if you've got to wait until he's on the board, he can't do anything for like 8 weeks. Again, we don't know that yet. But this is where we move on and we speak about individuals, right? Ratcliffe. Now, I've said this, right? I think I said this yesterday. I I think Ratcliffe's going to. I'm not saying that he's going to be like a central day-to-day figure, but I think in the early stages of this, I think you might see them. I feel it feels like Ratcliffe might have a little bit more of a presence, and this is what the Telegraph have been reporting on that. Listening to those with an understanding of how Ratcliffe operates, it's fair to say he has no intention of being a passive investor who watches on. Ratcliffe is not going to buy a chunk of the club, then sit back and hope it gets better with no change. If the deal works as described, he will be very hands-on. Now, of all the questions that we've got, right, about the takeover, about this and about that, there's one guarantee. And this I can guarantee. Well, I can't guarantee. I can guarantee. No, I can't. But I think it's guaranteed. That's the wrong photo. Dave Brailsford is going to have a big role in it. Okay? Dave Brailsford, I think he's head of INEOS Sports. He's obviously was brought into Nice, questionably brought into Nice in a position that he held, didn't really have the right experience in it. But if you look, and again, I'm going to be doing more videos on this, on what has happened at Nice in these last 12 months. Because I covered this in an interview that, I mean, how long ago was it now? Well, I think I spoke with Luke Entwistle from Get French Football News, and we spoke about all the problems that INEOS have had at Nice and how this season, going into it, they were in the strongest position that they had been in a long time, with good appointments behind the scenes, multiple appointments behind the scenes, and now they're second in the league. The football's looking good, and the football operations are running significantly better. So Dave Brailsford is definitely going to be he's going to have a high position at Manchester United in this new structure. We don't quite know yet, and there could be multiple appointments, because you can go down here. Paul Mitchell. You know what I think about Paul Mitchell. And this is why I think if United are going to have to get, I was thinking about this as an idea for a video, is to do a deeper dive into Manchester City's overall football structure, right? Because we know that it's Soriano, they've got Begiristan, you've got multiple people in there. It's not just one director of football and go, there you go, that's enough. It's like new CEOs. It's somebody who's director of football operations. It might be somebody who's director of transfers. And that's where Paul Mitchell could potentially work alongside Jean-Claude Blanc, who I believe is he. I'm going to do, I don't want to give you the wrong information here. I believe he was a former PSG and Juve director. Very good reputation. But these are lots of different names that are getting linked with us. A lot of this might be speculation. The Paul Mitchell stuff has been, hey, look, Paul Mitchell was linked with a Qatari, with a position at Manchester United in a Qatari bid, and he was linked with a position at Manchester United in the INEOS bid. Paul Mitchell, we know full well, is a man with serious experience. Whether that be at Southampton coming through and all the work he did there, or Spurs, or at Red Bull with Ragnick, or at Monaco where he was sporting director. He's got you're talking about people with sort of experience and people with a contacts list. Paul Mitchell is your man. He really, really is. He's now back in Manchester. The reason he left the Monaco job was because he wanted to be, I believe, close to his family. He's back in Manchester. For me, yes, Paul Mitchell is a complete yes. I'd be very interested to know what the overall structure would be with Paul Mitchell and how Dave Brailsford might overlook that overall football operations, but maybe there might be a CEO that works under him and actually takes control of it. Because if you imagine, like, Brailsford is the head of INEOS Sports, right? And they've got the Grenadiers, which is the cycling team, I think. They've got the sailing team. They've got Nice. They've got Lausanne. They've got an absolute ton. So even from a hands-on perspective, Dave Brailsford probably wouldn't have the time of the day to do it. So maybe you get one appointment there as a CEO and another one, maybe not CEO, what, chief operator, whatever you want to call the title. Maybe he can be the overall director. Then you've got Paul Mitchell, who will take control of the footballing side of things in terms of transfers and stuff. There's a lot of questions, right? There's a lot of questions. And DP, you're saying I can't get too excited about Nice being. Dude, they've had a fantastic start to the season, right? They really have. If you compare to Nice now to where they were last year and year before, where it just like Ratcliffe and Brailsford. Well, actually, Brailsford wasn't in until was it last year? INEOS made so many mistakes at Nice straight away, and a lot of it was revolving around the personnel that they brought in. They got it wrong at the start, right? They got it wrong at the start. But that's what I mean. Like I could, I'm going to go over here now and run through the Athletic article, and there's a little bit more information in here on what's going on. Speaking about Ten Hag in particular, let me read some super chats here first before I move on. Jibak, what are you saying? What is the point of Jim Ratcliffe owning football operations if he doesn't control the club's finances? He can make great plans, but the club needs to back it with money. Yes, I've got a major concern around that as well. And truth be told, again, it might just get even more complicated. There might be a separate budget that gets put down that Jim Ratcliffe is allowed to bolster himself by putting his own money in, because we know that the Glazers won't put their money in. All I wanted at our club was for the ownership and the manager to be in unison, heading in the same direction together, pulling in the same direction. And instead now, it's even more complicated. It's like a maelstrom. It's just, I don't know. It's like just like loads of whirlpools all going on at the same time. You've got the Glazers, who obviously, and we know, do not care about anything to do with Manchester United. And all they want is money. Money, money, money. That's the Glazers, who still have overall control of the club, even when Jim Ratcliffe takes his 25% in terms of voting ability. And then you got Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS, who I think will genuinely pull that in a very different direction. They will want Manchester United to be the best again. They will want Old Trafford to be the best club, best stadium in the country again. But how much can they feasibly do and change until they have 100% of the club? And how long will that take? What are the guarantees for it? That's where all the questions come in. I wished it was going to be a lot simpler. But if anything, the conversations have become more complicated. I would say that the opportunity for the right answer to come out at the end of it with Jim Ratcliffe at the club is bigger. I think the answer was pretty much always going to be the wrong answer under the Glazers on their own. There is a slither of light there, but yes, it's just mega complicated, man. Jonah, what are you saying? People need to realize that Qataris were not state-backed and not the huge cash cow they think it is. Take a look at what the Althanis did to Malaga. I mean, they did offer 5 billion, dude. So they clearly had some monies. But yeah, I don't think any of us need to waste any more time speaking about the Qatari bid. I think we've done that for the last 72 hours. At this point, I don't think there's anything more to gain from it. It's about the elevating the level of scrutiny that we do on this Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS takeover. That's where we should be focusing all our energies now. F-Scam is saying, JR is a United fan. I really hope he will want to be the one to take United back to the top. Bringing Paul Mitchell in would be a good start. I've said it many times before as well. Like, imagine being the players who take Manchester United back to where Manchester United should be, and imagine being the owner as well. He does give a shit about PR. He does care about his public image. The Glazers don't care, man. They do not care at all. They like being the villain. Jim Ratcliffe's a bit different. And we have to hope that that difference will bring some element of change. And we can't know how much change there could possibly be when it's only 25% of the club. Sounds sad, but are we screwed fully? No, we're not screwed fully, man. We're not. Right? I know that some people might want to look, man. I saw that the Goldbridge calling it the fucking death knell for the club. Like, do you know what our club has been through before? Are you that much of an idiot that you would say that? Because it's just not true. It is just not true. Yet that's now going to get spread And so many people are going to come in here like that dude who had the energy there, start making some stuff up. Manchester United has been through significantly worse than this. But my word, it's going to be complicated from here on in. It's going to be really, really complicated. And because I've seen what the Glazers can do for 20 years as owners of our club, I know how much they can be trusted, and they're just a cockroach that so happens to own our club. This is not the end of Manchester United, and anybody suggesting that is just. I swear the only thing you will give a toss about is whether or not we signed Mbappe or not in January, because you want that adrenaline hit, you want that dopamine, you want that ability to win that argument in the pub, and that's the only thing that really matters to you, and that's how you support the club. Hey, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am over the moon about INEOS, Ratcliffe, a 25% minority takeover, and the Glazers staying in my club. So do not ever put words in my mouth. However, am I now going to try and look at this going forward and say, right, if this is the situation which we are facing it, people, this is what is going to happen. You can piss and moan about it if you want, and you can go and throw something at the wall over there if you want. Do it. But this is going to happen at Manchester United. So what I want to do is scrutinize. Make sure everybody's been held accountable. Bring up the conversations that need to be brought up. Brian is saying, ever the optimist, man. I'm a United fan. I'm a United shirt, not United shirt. I'm a United fan. I want to see my club succeed. Some people seem to think that the Qataris coming in was the guarantee, which is not. It's not just about having positive attitudes for the sake. What is this? Is this actually a saying? Toxic positivity. I swear that's got to be created by the internet. What even is toxic positivity? Is that actually a thing? You're being too positive for my liking. Let me bring you down a little bit. Let me see what you're saying down here. And personally, I couldn't give a toss if Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS make tons of money as long as they get the right people in and invest properly as well. Look, man, truth be told, as abysmal a set of owners as the Glazers are, if we had had the right football structure in place over these last 10 years, we would be nowhere near where we are right now. And I hate them. But we've spent over $1 billion in these last 10 years, and we've given the wallet to a drunk guy who's got no idea what he's doing. And we have spunked money up the wall. So much of our own money. Club's money anyway. Not the Glazers' money, the club's money. So much of that had been wasted. And had we had the people like Paul Mitchell and an actual proper footballing structure in, we would in no way, shape or form have wasted the amount that we have wasted in these last 10 years, and we would not be in the position that we are in. Manchester United, the only reason Manchester United need a huge influx of cash now is because of the stadium neglect, because of the training ground neglect. Man United make enough money revenue-wise that we can support our own football club. We should be completely self-sustainable. But because the Glazers have bled that cash reserve dry, because they've not invested in the stadium, it's just everything's come to a head at one point right now. And I would agree. For me, the most important thing is a genuine footballing structure with the right people, not cronies. And look, John Murtough, I think John Murtough has had a positive impact in that. I don't think we're any worse off than when he came in, but we also do not have what we need still to support the manager. And let's speak about Erik ten Hag for a little bit now. Right, this is from The Athletic, all right? Said Eric Ten Hag's position is not under any short-term threat, despite a difficult start. He's got plenty of sort of respect. In fact, there is admiration for the work that he's done. Sources close to the Ratcliffe bid, who are not permitted to speak publicly due to confidentiality agreements, which still exist, and that's something that no one's really said, believe there are problems at the club, but Ten Hag is not one of them. And this bit down here that I highlighted, if INEOS does acquire sporting control, Ratcliffe would enact a holistic overview of the club's performance at every level, taking time to learn what works, what does not work, and consequently, what needs to change. And that's going to take time. And there's going to be people that want the immediate change. We know, right? And I'll be honest, like Ratcliffe should, and they all should. They should know that, of course they do. That's why they're buying the club. They know that the footballing side of things just isn't working at our club. That Richard Arnold is not fit for purpose on that side of things. That John Murtough, he's not done the job to the level that is required, which is why Manchester United is still struggling. So we don't know how long that, they call it a holistic overview. It's, of course, to be expected. If somebody comes in and buys it, invests over $1 billion, they're going to want to come in and do their own research before they make any major changes. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Man, what a time. These two fucks. Man, crazy, isn't it? Saturday night when that happens. Jeez. Let me see what you're saying down here. DP is saying at least they can see something from a sporting angle. Everything that you're hearing and seeing so far is about wanting immediate control of sporting matters. Of course, that therefore requires definition. How far up the chain do you go before it's not considered a sporting matter? Probably where you get towards budgets, maybe. But Ten Hag and if Paul Mitchell comes in and everybody like that, they need to know how much money we're working with. What's our budget? You can't plan for a summer without a budget. And does that mean then that one of the biggest problems that we've had over these last however many years is the Glazers getting involved in transfers and like giving it a thumbs up or giving it a thumbs down, saying this is too much, that's too little? They should have absolutely no involvement from this point forward. But if they have no involvement, then who can choose the budget of that player? Questions. There really are so many. And in my opinion, for Jim Ratcliffe to get off at on a good start, it is an absolute necessity that he communicates to United fans, like unequivocally, because of everything that's gone on, because of everything that could have happened with a full takeover and now has led to a 25% takeover. He needs to realize, I'm sure he does, right? Again, he's a smart businessman. It's the reason that he's managed to find his foot in the door here somehow. He needs to relay to fans what is going to happen, what his plans are for the sporting side. And again, it's going to have to be done so delicately because he can't just say, well, the Glazers are shit. I know they're crap, because they still own the bloody majority of the club. Aiden is saying, let Jim get his foot in the door before he dresses us. I'm not saying it's going to come out immediately, but I'm saying it has to be a necessity. And if he's going to do a holistic overview of the club, then he needs to understand that communication with the fans is going to be a way that he gains real support, genuine support. And I think he's starting off on the wrong foot with so many fans who all wanted the Glazers to be gone. And now we have to sort of accept this new reality that they're not going quite yet. But if he really wants to bring in a cultural change, then the communication is such an important part of it, man. Because without that, fans are just left to sort of try and decipher everything that's being put out in the media. And that's what I try and do with these shows here. I try and look through all the news and bring the news that I feel is worthy of you listening to it. when you see more than one reporter doing the same thing. I try not to sort of feed the hysteria and just bring you a story that's written on court offside. I ran the People's Person website for 10 years. I've got a pretty good instinct as to what is a story worth telling and what is just hot air. Some of you might disagree. And look, there's different channels where you can go and enjoy that. I'm going to read a few more of your comments out down here. Simon is saying SJR is a genuine United fan. Surely he knows how most of us feel. I think it's going to be a slow transformation, but in the end, we will get there. But that's what, of course, fans are hoping so far. But of course, I'm worried, man. I'm worried. Am I also going to be happy once this deal goes through and the Glazers do not have sporting control of my football club? Yes, I am going to be happy about that. Will that bring the change that is needed? I have my reservations about that. And that's why we will then, at that point, we will scrutinize. We will keep everyone accountable. We will try and make sure we can't do anything. Well, we can try and get our voice heard as fans. The 1958 will continue to do it until the Glazers are gone. It's a big old roller coaster being a United fan, isn't it? Really is a big old roller coaster. Matthew Crew, can the government not force them out? Nah, man. The government allowed them in. Just like the Premier League allowed all the state ownerships of the football clubs to take over, and that's now completely transformed football, and they have so much power. The Premier League let the Glazers in. There's nothing they can do to get them out now. What is James, you've got to face facts. We're a mid-table team, and it's only getting worse. This was the worst possible thing for United. I called it a nightmare scenario, and I still feel like it is. I hope that Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS can prove my niggling doubts wrong and can prove so many doubts incorrect that they can't genuinely bring proper change to the footballing side of our club. The business side, do we really give a crap about it? I mean, of course we do, because if the business completely fails, then obviously the footballing side will not have anything to spend. But if we're going to be in a situation here where the Glazers effectively become another Lindsay Train. So Lindsay Train, of course, own, I think, about 15% of the club, thereabouts. They're a minority shareholder of Manchester United. They own around about 15% of the club. What influence do they have? They don't have any. Of course, the Glazers are going to have their voting powers. What's going to happen with this new board structure? How much voting power will Jim Ratcliffe have? Will he have 25%? Will the other 75% lie with the Glazers? So many more questions, but let's find out. It's been an exhausting few days, I'll be honest. Of all the days for me to have an absolute raging hangover, yesterday was not that day. Yeah, I was all over the shop. I'm a little bit back. I'm back today. I've enjoyed that. And also, you'll be happy to know the studio should be getting finished before the end of this week. I've had a week delay because of COVID, naturally. Still exists. Still a thing. I know. But that's going to get done. I think I might keep this as the live shows, though, because I really enjoy the old school vibe. It does take me back. But we've grown as a community since then. I think it's a fair thing to say. Look, there's going to be, there's been extreme amount of negativity. And I was part of that on Saturday. My initial reaction to it and the idea of the Glazers staying was just like, I couldn't get over their greed. That was a thing that just kept replaying in my head again and again and again. Now that a couple of days have passed, I'm still so skeptical about a 25% takeover and the amount of true change that can be enacted when you only own that much of the club. But I have to hope that Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are capable of doing it. I have to. Look, you don't have to, right? And you can just permanently look at everything that he does through that lens if you want. And you might be proven right. and I might be proven wrong. But I'd rather be proven wrong about being hopeful than proven right about being doubtful. Just kind of made that up in my head, but it's just you can look at the same, but most things in life you can look at it from two different directions, and I would always take the direction where, you know, if it works out, then great, and I'll support it. It might not be, right, and it might be coming back in a few months' time, and then you're like, prove it, I told you so. So I'm like, cool, yeah, you were right. What'd you win? Like nothing. You support, yeah. Look, I can't tell anybody how to support their own football club. I really can't. So you can do what you want, but I will continue to do what I want, and I will continue to run this channel as as good as I can do. It's yeah, it's proper roller coaster, isn't it? I'm gonna do my 10-minute video at lunchtime today is gonna be like a succinct. This is everything we know about the plans of Ratcliffe ahead of that meeting on Thursday, and the Thursday meeting can change everything. And then, of course, we play Sheffield United on Saturday. Football is back, 7 games. I'll be here. You'll be here. 10 a.m. tomorrow and lunchtime today. Take it easy, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.